Hi, my name is Amna Ahmed. The title of my project is Gendered Household Dynamics Among Syrian Refugees in Jordan. And I'd also like to thank Professor Summer Lindsay for her guidance throughout this research project. So to start us off, I'd like to share this quote: "The origins of our shared human story is fundamentally a refugee and migrant story," just to highlight the interconnectedness between our stories. And the inspiration for this project really was right before the pandemic hit. I went on a trip to Jordan, where I was able to listen to the experiences of Syrian and Palestinian refugees. So my research question is, how do institutional and gendered hierarchies change over time for refugees based on their displacement patterns? And this was motivated by the concept of power and the ways it's organized, renegotiated, and gendered among refugees seeking asylum. So drawing on theories of gender norms and women's participation, I expected that gender household relationships would be destabilized when refugee women represent the head of the household, therefore in decreasing gender-based violence. And so I did this through a case study on Syrian refugees living in Jordan, and I picked Jordan specifically because of the fact they host one of the largest Syrian refugee populations, and just their impact on the Jordanian economy. And I also just basically did this through a content analysis of just previous research and UN Women documents on financial security, housing, gender-based violence alike. And the factors that I reviewed in relation to my theory are as follows, which is rural and urban differences, gender narratives of men and women as breadwinners, Jordan's nationality and labor laws, and effects of humanitarian assistance and protection. So there's many reasons why refugees choose to leave camps or informal settings, but most of it pertains to the lack of infrastructure and opportunity in camps. For refugee women, they reported that the lack of separate facilities made them feel more susceptible to gender-based violence, but gender-based violence exists in both environments as I found in my research findings. Female-led households reported more incidents of harassment and exploitation at hands of members and landlords and humanitarian organizations alike. And the main point here is that men in authoritative positions, both in camps and urban settings, made women refugees feel as though they owed them something in return for the services that they provided. So, building on previous research on failed masculinities, I found that refugee men had a fear of women's participation, which is really unfound because women refugees also struggle to provide as breadwinners of the family. So, while household dynamics were transforming as a result of displacement, there's a gendered effect here that has a double impact on women's security because of their limited economic capacity here, as shown that only 9% reported receiving some income from work, but also these fixed gender narratives of men as breadwinners. And I further found how these gender specific barriers and social norms led to a higher likelihood of children engaged in labor. But these households, female led households, were also more likely to refuse proposals for their underage daughters. So, upon conducting my research, I found that gender performances continue to shift within the context of displacement. Yet, this isn't necessarily a positive or negative outcome. My research indicates that Syrian women refugees continue to face challenges in their host country, such as gender based violence and economic security. These findings do have deep implications for the institutional and gendered hierarchies that shape women's advancement in their host country. For example, Jordanian nationality laws, such as citizenship running through the father, is both discriminatory and deeply gendered, leaving a double impact on refugee women's societal value. Humanitarian workers and even local residents continue to exploit women's vulnerabilities, such as exchanging sex for aid. Without addressing the roles of international and state actors playing in the context of displacement, refugee women will remain both insecure and untapped as a critical social and economic actor. At the same time, however, they're learning to navigate their disruption of gender roles because of their motivation to provide a better life for their household. Understanding their resilience can have a profound impact on women's empowerment initiatives for refugees globally. Thank you so much. And thank you to the Lloyd C. Gardner Fellowship for this opportunity.